and welcome back to my channel. It's winter, it's cold, it sucks, and there's nothing better than having a good horror movie to watch to keep you warm, you know? In this video, I'm recommending a whole winter horror movie watch list to keep you warm all winter long. Let's get into it, shall we? First up is The Thing. The Thing is a John Carpenter classic. This follows a remote research group in Antarctica who uncover an alien species that can take shape of anybody. So this movie is cold, it's bleak, and you can just feel the cold when you're watching this one. It is the perfect winter watch in my opinion. And it's scary. It's filled with paranoia, there's isolation, it has all the elements of a perfect winter watch. Next up is The Shining. This is the Stanley Kubrick classic based on the Stephen King novel of the same name. This centers around Jack Torrance, who accepts a job at the Overlook Hotel, and he brings his family there and they stay in this hotel for a prolonged period of time, and in this time Jack slowly unravels. This place is evil. This one is also isolated. There's just this heaviness in this movie and it almost feels real. It's a real situation in a supernatural setting, and I think that's what's truly terrifying. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I don't know. And then to follow that up with Dr. Sleep, this is Mike Flanagan's adaptation of the Stephen King sequel to The Shining, and this centers on Danny years later as an adult. He's struggling with alcoholism like his father Jack. He becomes involved in a series of supernatural events. This story is so moving and sad, and there are some brutal kills. It's just unsettling and haunting because the horrible actions that happen in this film happen to children, and Mike Flanagan does not shy away when these actions are happening, so you see them and you feel them. This movie is so good, and I wish more people would watch it and watch the director's cut. It's worth it. Next up is Let the Right One In. This is based on the novel of the same name. This is the Swedish version. They also have an American version, Let Me In. So this centers on a young boy who is bullied and he befriends the new kid next door, and he learns that that kid is a vampire. This one is dark. It's frigid. It is so cold. You can taste the cold. It's just a heavy film, heavy themes, and I highly recommend it. You might go a little depressed, but isn't that what winter's all about? Next up is The Lodge. Now, I do not recommend this movie lightly because it's heavy. The shit that happens in this is so dark. This is not one I can rewatch frequently. So this is centered on a man who brings his new girlfriend and his two kids to spend the Christmas holiday in a remote cabin, and it goes wrong because these kids are assholes. It's super dark. There's very dark backstory to the female characters, so it's mysterious. They're isolated in this cabin in the winter. It's freezing, and you just feel for the main character played by Riley Keough. Next up is 30 Days of Night. This is my favorite vampire story. It is centered on a small Alaskan town that is attacked by mean-ass, bloodthirsty vampires as they enter their 30 days of darkness. This is based on the graphic novel of the same name by Steve Niles, I believe his name is. The kills in this are vicious. They're vicious. The imagery in this is so scary. I remember seeing this in theaters and being shocked by just how dark the kills are. They feel so real. The characters feel like lived-in real people that you root for, and I just love this movie so much. Next up is Pontypool, one of my favorite movies of all time. This is centered on a small radio station set in the basement of a church, and it's run by this former shock jock, disc jockey, who's kind of like Howard Stern, and he's in a situation that he doesn't want to be in because he thinks he's too good for this radio station. But in searching for a good story, he finds one, and they learn that there's this weird zombie-like virus that is spreading throughout the town, and it spreads through sound. This story is so inventive and creative and subtle. What I love most about this story is that it's all in your imagination. You learn everything that happens through phone calls of people calling into the radio station. It's just terrifying. It's terrifying when you let your imagination run wild. Now, the movie kind of goes a little crazy towards the end, but the whole journey up until that point is just perfect. It is so unsettling, and I love this movie and I will never stop recommending it. It's also a good Valentine's Day movie because it's set on Valentine's Day. Next up is Misery. This is a Rob Reiner film based on the Stephen King book of the same name, and this centers around a famous writer. He gets into a car crash, and lucky for him, or unlucky for him, he gets rescued by his biggest fan. It does not go well for him. Then we have Frozen. This is Adam Green's Frozen, which is pre-Disney Frozen, and this centers on three friends who go to a ski resort for a little fun, and they accidentally get left on the ski lift for the week, and they have to survive the elements. This one is a slow burn, it's a character study, and it's just horrifying in the sense that it could really happen, and it makes you ask yourself, what would you do in that situation if you were in it? I would die. I would just give up. That's what I would do. Next up is The Blackcoat's Daughter. This will be a first time watch for me. I've never seen this movie. Everybody always raves about it. It stars Emma Roberts and Kiernan Shipka, and it centers on a school, and it's in the dead of winter, and these two girls are very different, and they end up spending the winter break together. One of them is being stalked by an evil entity. That's all I know. That's all I need to know. Another one I need to watch this winter season is Ravenous. This is from 1999, and it stars, who's that guy? Guy Pearce. It stars Guy Pearce. Upon arriving reports of missing persons at Fort Spencer, a remote army outpost on the western frontier, Captain John Boyd investigates. After arriving at his new post, Boyd and his regiment aid a wounded frontiersman who recounts a horrifying tale of a wagon train murdered by its supposed guide, a vicious U.S. Army colonel gone rogue. I love stuff like that. It's again that isolation. That's what I love about winter, the winter horror. It revolves around the theme of isolation, because in winter it's kind of hard to not feel isolated. It's dark, it's cold, and you don't want to go outside, so you almost feel like you're stuck. Next up will be another first time watch for me, and that is The Children. So this is about a couple who is spending a relaxing Christmas vacation in some small town, and they realize that there's something wrong with the children. I think these kids start killing their parents. Who doesn't love that? Then we have Whiteout. This is more of a thriller. It's centered in Antarctica, and it follows a U.S. Marshal who's investigating stuff. There's a body discovered, and it's just a blizzard, so it is snowing through the whole movie. You just shiver watching it, and I love Kate Beckinsale. I'll watch anything she's in. Mysteries, murder mysteries set in a cold climate like that are just extra interesting to me. There's so many elements that you have to worry about, the nature elements. You can't really see very well if it's snowing and you don't know who to trust. It's just everything I need. Next up is Dead Snow. This is a story about people who run into Nazi zombies in the snow in Norway. It's terrifying. Then we have The Wolf of Snow Hollow. This is about a small town that is being attacked by a werewolf, I believe. This will be another first time watch for me. Next up is We Are Still Here. This is an indie horror about a family who moves into this house where bad things happen. It's a New England town. New England in the winter is so harsh. I just love films set in New England because I feel like they're more relatable. I know how fucking horrible it is. So this one is a slow, eerie story with some really creepy moments. Next up is Abominable. This one is kind of cheesy, but I love it. It's centered on this guy who is crippled after an accident, and he is staying in this cabin to rehabilitate himself. And there's an abominable snowman on the loose killing people. This one feels like Rear Window with the Abominable Snowman. Next up is Hunter x Hunter. This one came out in 2020, and it stars Devon Sawa and Nick Stahl, and it is focused on a family who is living off the grid, and strange things start happening, and a stranger comes into their area, and things just get worse. This one is a kind of slow burn. It's a mystery. It has some brutal moments, and it's fair warning. Next up is Devil's Pass. This is about 5 American college students who are investigating the Dyatlov Pass incident, and then things go wrong for them. That's all I'm gonna say. Next up is Troll Hunter. I love this movie so much. So this is about a group of students who's investigating a series of mysterious bear killings, but they learn that there are much more dangerous things going on. It might be a troll. This one is so fun. I think they do some inventive things with it, and it's just a blast. I believe this one is found footage. I haven't watched it in years, so this will be a long overdue rewatch for me. Next up will be another first time watch for me. That that is Curtains from 1983. 6 beautiful girls trying to get ahead. When the curtains fall, 5 will be dead. So this is set on 6 young actresses who are vying for a movie role in a remote mansion in the middle of winter, and I believe they start getting killed off one by one. Perfect. Then we have Anything for Jackson. This is a Shudder film from 2020 that I really loved. It's about a couple who kidnap a pregnant woman. I don't want to spoil it too much, but the premise sounds heavy. It's a little bit more fun than that. It's pretty funny, like darkly funny, and you'll fall in love with this couple who is doing these horrendous things, and there are some pretty chilling moments. Next up is The Dead Zone. This is more, it's like a supernatural mystery. This is a David Cronenberg film based on the Stephen King novel of the same name, and it's about a young man who gets into a car crash that puts him in a coma for like 5 years. And when he wakes up from this coma, he has the ability to see the future. It's a horrible situation for him because not only did he lose a huge chunk of his life, he's having to deal with these horrific visions. One of these situations where if you could go back in time and kill somebody who was going to one day become a horrible, horrible person like Hitler, would you do it? So it's just a really powerful watch, and it has some messed up scenes involving scissors and a bunch of other stuff. So it's dark. It's dark. And another one that I have not seen but everybody always recommends is D-Tox, starring Sylvester Stallone. So this is a crime thriller, I believe. This follows a disgraced FBI agent with a drinking problem who joins 9 other troubled law enforcement officers at an isolated detox clinic in the woods of Wyoming. But the therapeutic sanctuary becomes a nightmarish hellhole when a major snowstorm cuts off the clinic from the outside world and enables a killer on the inside to get busy. I think by busy they mean he starts killing people. And next up is Storm of the Century. This is based on a Stephen King story. When a blizzard hits an isolated town, it brings with it a mysterious stranger intent on terrorizing the people for a sinister purpose. I don't think I've ever watched this one. I tried to watch it, but I was just busy. I couldn't get into it, but it sounds perfect. It's a small town that is shut off from the rest of the world because of this blizzard. This is what I thought of when I was watching Midnight Mass. It has those same vibes and themes, it seems. And lastly, rounding this up with one of my favorites that might not be everybody else's favorite is Dreamcatcher. This is another film based on a Stephen King novel of the same name. He loves winter stories. So this is about a group of childhood friends who gather at a cabin to basically have a hunting trip in the woods. While they're in the woods, there's this huge blizzard that comes and a lot of other weird stuff happens. And they meet a weird stranger who sets their trip into a horrifying trajectory. The whole first half of this movie I think is so good. It's subtle, and the actors playing the friends are just perfect. I get so much joy watching them hang out and be like real friends. They seem like they're real friends, so that when the shit hits the fan, you really feel for them. It goes off the rails, but it's still fun to me, and I think that it's the perfect movie to watch with some hot chocolate and some friends. And there you have it. That is my winter horror and thriller movie watch list. There's a lot. So please let me know if there are any movies that you think I need to add to my watch list this winter season, and if I talked about any of your favorites on the list. I hope you guys stay safe, stay warm this winter, and have some fun with some horror movies. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time.